Welcome back. My name is Timo. I'll be walking you through how to debug an Appzio application when you're developing. So you develop using PHP, but you're using the Appzio's own native client as a runtime to display whatever you develop. Well, as it often happens with development, it's quite easy to introduce bugs. So I'm going to give you a short primer. First of all, what happens between the client and the server. Um, Second, how to debug it and how to make it in the most effective way possible. So let's get started. We have our Hello World PHP application that you've seen on the previous videos. And each Appzio application is a server-side configuration. So the client is basically just the dumb runtime that takes all the directives from the server. I'm going to run this application on the simulator and explain what are the calls that we make on the server and what they contain. So we'll open here our API settings. So these are the keys that the Appzio application will need to identify itself. So let's take the API key and the API secret key. I'll put them here on the iOS simulator. So actually the only thing that's unique for each Appzio application are this information over here, applications icon, splash screen, and then if we include some assets in it. Otherwise, all the Appzio applications are identical, and they work, even if it's an old application, it will work with the latest version of the API and so forth. So let's go ahead and launch the application. We have whatever icons and splash screens we have from the previous session. Now, obviously, what happens here, you probably don't have the simulator running. Maybe you use Android. You might not have the client-side source code. So I'm going to show the same thing also from the server side. So you don't necessarily need to have a simulator to do it. It's just easier for me to explain from here. If you take a look at our simulator tracks all the calls made on the server. So what happens here is that it calls an endpoint called create user, and we can just simply copy this, paste it on the browser, and this is the JSON that this particular application returns. Let's have a look at it on the JSON format. So what's here? We have the user info, branches, which is all the application's content and all of their configuration. We have a list of assets that the client needs, full asset list. So this particular application has 18 assets so far. Our client knows when to load the assets, so it's not just going to blindly load all the assets that are in the asset list, but it will try to load them so that you would never see a loader on the client. Then we have the colors. For example, here are the application's colors that you can define on the web interface and so forth. Okay, so what else happened here? We took the menus and then we updated a user variable. Basically, the client is telling which platform it is and some other information that we need on the server side. Now the same information, meaning that what happens happens on the backend, what happens with the calls, can also be seen on the server side. We have a menu item here called debug. Let's turn it on. And here on the simulator, we'll do a refresh. Let's open the console, and we see the call that was made here. This is the request list branches, is our main kind of a main method for updating most of the information in the client. Then when we open the action in itself, also the action can be updatable. Let's make it updatable, a little easier for our development. So let's open it here, and we'll say refresh on open and pull to refresh. Then we need to go back here, do another refresh, and now you can see that the refresh is available here as well. Let's introduce a bug to our code so you see what happens. So for example here, let's call this whatever C. So obviously this doesn't exist, and our PHP will throw an error, but you wouldn't be able to see it here. Actually, you wouldn't able to see that anything went wrong at all, and this is on purpose built like this. So the client will always, if the connection to the backend fails, we will always default to the cached information, and the client cache is more or less all the action information. So now it seems like, okay, it worked, but it didn't update anything. So then I start wondering, I comment out something more, and still it doesn't do anything. If we go here on the debug open console, we see that there's a request that failed, but where is that? Yes. So we didn't see it because we forgot to upload the changes on the server. I normally don't work with the remote server, so I keep forgetting that. So we'll upload the hello world, and now let's refresh. Didn't see anything. Here we see that that it's thrown an error, and also here we see that there's a red request, and red request means that that the call has crashed, so it never got to the end. Now if I want to debug, see what was it that went wrong, I will have a standard E debug stack trace here. So okay, here's the error. I can go back here, let's remove the error, save it, upload it, and then if I do a refresh here, it will again return the JSON as it should. So works here too. So that was the very short primer on the basics of debugging. Stay tuned, more information coming in the form of videos. Thanks for watching.